Look
turned
at
out that a
Chuck's new
job that he
setup,
had
guys.
was
Oh, yeah.
actually undercover
back to-
bloopers and shit.
Right? He goes back to his like life, and he's like, I don't even think anything's real anywhere, like at all.
Hey
Sorry,
guys,
Chuck.
Chuck's with us now. If you didn't notice, I know
Oh, I
Andy's on
thought
her
somebody
phone.
was-
I just
Hello.
Chuck and Tim are here.
Chuck's all incognito.
oh
I
yeah,
know, I
I'm
like
all
I like your
incognito
getup right
tonight.
now.
That's exactly. This is my
Super
new
cool.
brand look. I figured I'm coming to see the Pirates. I got to put on some sort of a costume. So it's dark over here. I don't need the sunglasses, but you know, I had to do this just for you guys. So now it'll be coming off.
Well, I like your setup there.
I
It's
like
nice.
it.
Yeah.
So actually, let me oh shoot, I should have done this through. So I've actually, yeah, I actually no, I'll what I'll do is I'll actually jump on. So part of our moving down here about a let's see, when did we come down here? I don't know, sometime last year. It's been about a year since we started coming down to South Carolina. We're planning our move. And there's an old shed on the property that had pretty much been forgotten about, and some rats took it over. I had to evict the rats, and I started trying to do some sort of a studio before the summer came up, and I couldn't get it cool enough. So I've been working out of the greenhouse, and this week I finally got this kind of going again. And let me, oh crud, I'm trying to get in through a different way. I'll actually, where's our thing? Here, and I can have some fun here. Now, where are you, Tim? No. Oh, okay. Let's see here. No, not on NVIDIA. I'm going to come in through Zoom, hopefully. The second one. Let's see here. The host will let me in soon, so you should see that coming in.
You're in.
Got it. And okay. So now I'll have some fun here.
I'm gonna turn.
He's gonna come in through another side.
Oh.
I just opened my door for the first time in like 10 minutes, and Round just came rushing me.
Aw. Hey, Rao.
So anyways, yeah, we are starting to build our southern studio, which is just
Nice.
cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
Oh,
much
yeah.
yet, but I like it. It's kind of cool. So how you guys been?
Doing good. We were just having a
Good.
pretty good conversation. We actually recorded it because Ben couldn't be with us. So yeah. But I forget what we were talking about now. What we were
A
talking.
lot.
Talking about reality shows right now.
My cat came and rushed me. We were talking about how reality shows, even back in the day, weren't reality shows, and you know how basically what woke me up from being a culture zombie is psychedelics. And before that, I just would, you know, sit there and watch rap videos and look at MTV and watch what's going. Oh, hey, that looks, you know, I want to be that. I want to do that. Look at all these chicks this dude gets to have, you know. Look at all this money. Like that's freedom right there. And they sit here and build it into your head that getting to do what you want actually means, you know, this selling your soul into the system type of thing. So when you're a teenager, you're like, yeah, you know, that's fun. That's what I want. And then you take shrooms your first time and you're like, oh shit, none of that shit matters, is completely pointless. You know, that doesn't actually create long-term happiness. Most of the people in that lifestyle are empty and unfulfilled, and that's why they end up depressed or suicidal a lot of the time, you know. And probably in order to get in that position, they've had to do a lot of different things that we don't even know about and couldn't even fathom, you know.
But then if you think, I just thought of another example, and I saw this like yesterday or the day before on Facebook. Another example being tiny homes. Those tiny homes show where they show you how to make tiny homes and how convenient they are.
Yeah.
What better pre-programming? Tiny
Oh,
homes.
yeah.
Yeah. There's
Well, yeah,
something about it for sure.
get everyone geared for the idea of living in tiny little boxes
Mhm.
with each other.
Close
Yeah.
vicinity with each
And
other.
I was like,
yeah.
oh man, the people who were taking the psychedelics probably aren't making that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you're talking about with that. I've
So
seen-
like all of the shows are meant to hit people of the different spectrums and tiers
Yeah,
with
that's
different pre-programming.
I mean, that's just marketing, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
ultimately like, I look at those the tiny home shows, and I don't think it's a nefarious type thing. I think that all they're doing in that instance is talking to a group of people who want to hear what they want to say, right? Because there are a fair number of people who I think right now are rethinking the whole idea that the goal in life is to buy the 2,400 square foot home that's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, whatever, and being locked into not being able to explore the world because you're trying to keep your payments up on a house that can't be maintained for. So I think that there's a lot of people out there looking in those different worlds. I don't necessarily think it's all programming. In fact, I think there's probably a lot more genuine content out there right now than we've had maybe ever. But then at the same time, there's a lot of people who are just out there sharing information based on
Me personally, I don't take the stance that the content's genuine, because there's 6 or 7 different corporations that own literally 9,000 plus media channels.
Right.
Like we're talking, all the way up to these are multinational corporations. And here's the thing: why would they leave any of their programs to chance? If we know that the Nazis came in for Operation Paperclip in 1947, when we brought 1,600 Nazi scientists over here, right? That was a real thing that we did. I'm not sure if all the viewers know. 1,600 Nazi scientists were brought over to America to work for us in 1947 with a free pardon after World War II. And these were scientists and people who did human atrocities and all sorts of different types. But there was also propagandists. And when they went to Germany, when they took power, what's the first thing they did? Take over all the media channels, take over all the media outlets, and start pumping their propaganda. So why would I sit here and believe that all these corporations that are ran by these multinational corporations that are all connected to this power structure and these governments would leave any of their shows to chance? Why wouldn't they have 24-hour programming for every type of human on each one in order to put us into particular things? And it's not like everyone's programmed with, hey, I'm going to be a rapper, I'm going to fuck a bunch of bitches. No, that's not. Some people are like, hey, I'm going to live the white picket fence life and get a house and get some land and get some chickens and get a tiny home on it. And that's the type of people they're trying to catch so that they can keep them within the consumer mindset that keeps society going. So they already know people are thinking in different directions, and they got to capture those people with different mouse traps, with different flavors of cheese for each type of person. People that listen to country music are going to be more apt to go, hey, I want to go and get some land and get a ranch and get some horses. That's the type of programming they're getting. That's the shows they're watching. That's the music they're listening to. Like that being wholesome style programming doesn't make it any less of a program than someone who's taking a bunch of drugs and getting a bunch of girls. It's still a program, and it's still falling right into a trap.
Yeah, I can actually see the trap thing. This week, I thought it was interesting. I got dinged by Facebook a few weeks ago. I had a meme that I saw that I found interesting. It just showed a picture of two 2x4s being cut, and the gist of it was that the GMO trees weren't as sturdy as the old trees, and right, hardwoods grow slower. And I thought it was interesting. Anyways, I posted it, not even thinking anything of it, but just the general concept of when things grow fast, they tend to be weaker than things that grow longer, right? I mean, down here in South Carolina, there are these live oaks, and they're the ones that stand for just hundreds and hundreds of years, in part because they make it through hurricanes time and again, right? It's like they're so strong because of what they've gone through, versus like the pines, which grow very fast, when the winds come through and the hurricanes happen, they just get chopped off at the top. So, I mean, in my head, that's where I was thinking it. And I just shared it. I thought it was interesting. I thought it led for a good conversation. Anyways, this
Yeah.
week, Facebook comes back and they ding me for sharing misinformation because that thing had been fact checked. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. But then all of a sudden I sort of realized I took the bait, right? Like exactly sort of what you're saying there is they are still out there feeding the narrative, right?
Yeah.
And they took the bait. That's where, so I guess that's where I look at that. It's like I go onto Facebook and I can say that there's genuine content on Facebook because people are putting out exactly what they think is it's true. It's just that the actual programming of the narrative now actually is more refined in many ways. It's
Yes.
like it's right. They're controlling the narrative. The content's almost irrelevant. They just want to make sure that they can shape your voice.
They want to shape your views and your voice, and that's
Right.
really all that matters. That's, you know, and what they do is they now have algorithmic tracking for each individual because we're sharing our thoughts on all these social networks, so they can literally place us in very refined categories and then target us with the exact slew of programming for the type of individual that we are. And I know that you guys get different advertisements than I do, you know, and advertisements that pop up on my page are literally tailored exactly for me. And I know it's the same with the slew of content and propaganda that's being displayed, the videos that are being shown, the videos that are being recommended on YouTube. All of these things are algorithms tracking us and trying to get us into the category that's going to turn us into the lifelong consumer that they want us to be. Being a consumer in a consumer mindset keeps us a slave because we're constantly using the money we make to purchase, and we're constantly getting debt. We're getting a house, we're getting a car, we're getting credit cards, we're doing this, we're financing that, and we're in debt. So we have to keep working. The debt cycle keeps us a slave for 50, 60 years. And then once we're too old, they put us out to pasture and pull the Social Security out from under us, you know?
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely
That I mean, that's a pretty good summary of the system at large right there. And that's why I personally, whether it's social media or whether it's mainstream media, believe that there's always some sort of programming. You can see it if you read through it and you watch things with this eye, like what are they trying to get the audience to feel? What are they trying to motivate the audience to do? Kids shows are easy to see. A lot of little boy shows, they try to get that hero mentality, that little boy who's the underdog. You'd never think he was going to win it. Somehow he, through insurmountable odds, overcomes, wins the day, and gets the hot girl. Right. And that they show it over and over and over again, whether it's
And not only
Transformers
that,
and
with
Megan
those little
Fox.
heroes and with the little boys becoming heroes or even little girls becoming heroes,
Over and
but in
over.
every one of those little kid hero shows, their parents have no control over these kids. They're out
Yep.
doing this shit at night. They're doing it by themselves or with their other toddler friends. And you're just like,
Yeah.
really?
Did I tell you about the
teaching
toy?
our kids to like go outside at night by themselves with their kid friends to fight crime?
I know, right? I'm sure that's influenced many already.
I don't know about you guys, but I've heard many stories of toddlers just walking out the front door while usually their drug addicted parent is just, not
Yeah.
paying any attention to them at all.
Yeah, because they're probably watching the shows and getting the idea. I personally believe everything is programming. I think that a lot of the unrealistic family shows that are targeting kids are meant to make disharmony in the family, because real families don't act like that. So when they see this Peppa Pig or they see these families going, "Oh, honey, would you like to do this or that?" And it's all just friendly and kind, and there's never an argument. There's never anything goes wrong. It's just, it's just family values. I don't think that's realistic. And these kids are growing up like, why isn't my mommy that nice? Why does my mommy get upset and frustrated sometimes at me? They're given these unrealistic views, just like relationship views. People have unrealistic relationship ideals for each other because of these shows. Oh, eyes only for you, this never-ending love to the end of time. Once I just laid my eyes on you, I just couldn't. And they won't accept anything else. And unless they feel this like, oh, this love that they've been shown in Disney and all these shows, then they just don't accept it. And it's just a constant argument and battle. And why doesn't this person love me? I'm not getting loved the right way. Nah, it's because we've all been programmed. Whereas the little boys were getting programmed on the attractive girl or multiple girl, this or that, right? And we're all getting programmed to be, opposing each other. You create disharmony in the household. Over half relationships and half of marriages end in divorce. And over half of those marriages that end say that infidelity was the cause. People are unhappy in their relationships, so they're looking outside of their relationships in order to, find fulfillment.
And that marriage
we're all getting
statistic is
misled.
starting to change. It's no longer half anymore that are ending in divorce. And that's because more and more people are choosing to just not get married at all.
Yeah.
The contracts that bind you to the government in that way are kind of
Right.
unattractive.
It's the
in my
government
opinion.
trying to,
If anything
it's
about
really
that,
the government. It's trying to put the marriage into a legally binding contract with the government in order to divorces. How many families are fractured through divorce, and families spend their whole entire lives on this custody thing and doing this and that. And when you're expending that much energy on family matters, you're not going to be able to fight back. You're not going to be able to focus on how the government's fucking you in all these different ways.
Or
Hey,
on
Chuck,
how
did I tell you about
properly raise your child or what they need?
Yeah.
When you're
Hey, Chuck,
constantly
did I
fighting.
tell you about the Toy Story one? What's going on in the background of Toy Story?
The movie, the Toy Story.
Yeah, Toy Story
okay.
movie.
No.
So what's the background story to Toy Story? Like, what's going on in the background? Well, the mom is downgrading from a 2-story house to a 1-story house, and there's a dad not in the picture in any of the 3 movies. Very first movie, they show pictures going up the stairs of the mom and the little boy, but there's no dad in the picture. So one can assume that if the dad died, he'd probably still be in pictures. They'd be mourning him. No dad makes me assume that that's a single mom. That single mom with a dad that left the family. She is now downgrading this 2-story house. She's selling it. The whole first movie is them selling and moving the house. And they're moving to a 1-story house. Why put that intricate of a background story into a child's story? Because when you watch it hundreds of times, even 50 times, right, your subconscious mind is going to pick up on the background story. Even if you don't consciously see it, your subconscious mind is going to accept single parent households are a normal thing. This is just normalizing this fractured family. And what's the boy replacing his dad's attention with? Why, masculine doll figures that always fucking come and save the day. Those men are macho and strong and always there, right? This is all psychological fucking programming. That is not just an innocent story about toy dolls that come to life. If you have that intricate of a story woven into it, into a children's story, you can bet your sweet ass that was done with planning. They knew what they were doing, and they knew exactly how they were going to plan it.
Yeah.
But many people don't see that until you point it out to them straight up. Like, nobody, 0 people I've talked to have noticed that that is a single mom that is moving from a 2-story house to a 1-story house. No one.
That's the
What does
same as
that tell
other
you?
shows like Married with
That's how-
Children and whatnot.
Married with Children's another one. My
Yeah.
parents were like the parents from Married with Children. Fight over sex, never. That was, me growing up. I'd always hear those fights. It would be nothing other than that, and just yelling at each other all the time. And that was the norm. Married with Children was the norm in my house. But when my dad was growing up, Leave It to Beaver was the norm. Wouldn't you have guessed it? Mom was always in the kitchen baking bread, apron on. Well, dad was always working, making money. Mom got him the slippers, bring him the plate with the fork, and he had a special fork. Leave it to Beaver. So people are like, well, I always get this argument. Well, the shows reflect culture, right? Culture is how it is, and they make the shows to reflect how people act. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. They are literally using the shows to program the people to act like that. And you can see so in the reality shows that started coming out. Beginning of our conversation about the reality shows, that was a major shift in people's behaviors. And you could literally see my whole generation, everyone start acting like they had a fucking camera on them all the time, everywhere they went. So
it is interesting that which comes first, the programming, chicken or the egg, the programming or otherwise, because you can't live life without some version of an operating system, let's call it, right? I mean, we can choose our own and we can modify it, but we still act on a form of programming, right? It's our
cultural operating
programming, right? And programming itself is not a bad thing because it has order and it has different aspects to, accomplishing things. I mean, if we look at earlier, we talked about like football on our 8 o'clock segment, which is more about trying to have the peak performance kind of piece, is, there is a level where, if you don't want to call it programming, but there's an agreement where you're putting, words on paper, you're putting a business plan together, you're putting a game plan together. It is a form of programming, but you have to choose it. And I think the important thing that we really need to kind of take away from the fact that there is programming going on, period. And once you're aware of it, you don't have to see programming everywhere, but it is. You don't have to be focused on it, but what you do have to get focused on is choosing your own programming, right? Choosing the programming that you're going to use for your life to guide your life, and then sort of decide, why am I choosing that programming? Like, where does it really, fit into society? What's it mean for me? And going from there.
That got into the next part of our conversation that you came in for, which was psychedelics, which actually deprogram us. And that to me is the key. If you take psychedelics and Terrence McKenna has a good talk called Culture is Your Operating System. And he talks about how when we're on culture, our beliefs, our delusions, our religious beliefs, etc. That's like, he's like, when you're naked, you're still wearing clothes. You're wearing the cultural operating system. It's like when you shed that through the use of psychedelics, you stand naked before your own introspection, for your own creation. From there, you can actually build yourself into whatever you want to be. You connect with something even older, more ancient, the animal soul of mankind. So rather than programming ourselves and seeing things in society which we can choose to program ourselves on, that mindset to me is more like the pick your poison mindset. Well, you can see that there's a lot of programs, so let's choose one where my goal is to actually deprogram myself from everything and allow myself to just be a free human. If you were to, take the flashy thing from Men in Black and, take 100 humans to an island and erase their memory, how would they act? What would they be?
I think, fair enough. I think it's the word programming that gets a little kind of clued.
Yeah, I think Jake, I think what Chuck is talking about would be kind of related to our meeting on Monday, where we were saying in order to get unindoctrinated, we almost have to indoctrinate ourselves.
Yeah,
exactly.
True.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I think the point.
That's
Chuck
exactly
is
right.
Okay, cool. As long as you're not saying we need to program ourselves with something in culture.
In order to unindoctrinate,
we need
get
to
away from their
ourselves
programs. We need
culture.
to indoctrinate with the programming, the information that we want.
In fact,
that we believe to be truth.
One of the services that I offer to clients is actually helping define the culture of their brand, right? Because their brand is going to exist in the marketplace, and and you're either going to exist on the marketplace's terms or on your own terms. And I do like what we're talking about here, particularly, and I think I shared this, and that's where I think you commented on it, Victorious, was the culture of a DAO, right? The culture of a distributed autonomous organization. You still need a culture. If all you have is a bunch of individuals you will never create an organization, right? Now, the interesting piece about it is autonomous organization is almost an oxymoron. So you almost have to choose a culture together that you're going to grow. And you do have to choose some principles that you're going to
Yeah.
stand on together, right? Like to your
Yeah.
point, Jake, it's like, yeah, I don't want to be, I want to get rid of the word program for a second, but like, I want to be a free human, which
Yeah.
means like I'm willing to live unconstrained. Well, there's
Yeah.
going to be people who say like, well, I'm not willing to live unconstrained. I want, borders in my life. And you're like, well, can I respect those borders? Yep. Great. So now our boundaries is probably a better word than borders. Like,
Yeah.
can we respect one another's boundaries? So Jake, can you respect my boundaries and still live unconstrained? Yeah, because I don't mean unconstrained that I just come and take and rape and do whatever I want to do. I don't really mean, pillage the town. I just mean that when I walk into town, I want to be able to be friendly with everybody, kind of thing, right? And I don't mean to speak for you,
Yeah.
but there is like those conversations, and a piece of that goes to, there's a great book called The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. It's by Paulo Freire, and it was a whole work that was done after communism had been in Brazil for quite a while, and really looked at how to free people's minds, not from just the programming, but to free them to allow themselves to express life on their terms and begin to live life on their terms in cooperation with others, because community and cooperation is the healthiest version of humanity. And you don't get to be in community and cooperation as solely an individual.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if somebody would so want to choose to be a hermit, though, they could completely have that choice. Although I wouldn't make it, because I don't believe it's good for the mental health, or anything having to do with human beings. But I mean, someone should be free to make that choice if they want to. I was watching a show at my parents' a few years back, and it was a cop show in Alaska. And there's this dude living literally like 3 hours out in the wilderness in a shack he made himself with corrugated metal. And he was fishing and hunting, not bothering a soul. And these cops went out there. He's an old man. Cops went out there, hiked, they parked, they hiked an hour and a half to get to him, to tell him he has a month to get out of there. And they made him move. It's government land, not harming a soul. Why should that man not be free to live on that land if he's not causing a disturbance?
Yeah, I actually was having a conversation today, not so dissimilar. We were talking about the Canary Island volcano, and then my father-in-law brought up that Mount St. Helens, there was this apparently a similar story of an old man who had built kind of the cabin by his hands. He'd lived up on top of like somewhere near Mount St. Helens back in the day. And when they were getting concerned that it was going to blow, they're like, you need to move, you need to move. And apparently in the end, he's like, no, this is all I've ever known. And if this goes, I'm meant to go with it. Well, yeah, have that choice.
Yeah,
Like that's like that's become your life. And if that mountain's
that's his
gonna go,
life.
what's that?
Yeah, he doesn't want to live without it. Let him make that choice. And that brings me to the next topic of freedom, which would be assisted suicide, right? Kevorkian, how they used to arrest Kevorkian and sit here and demonize him in the media. All he was doing was setting up a fucking button so people could choose their own time and go out on their own merits. They didn't want to wait for the Reaper to come to them. They wanted to say goodbye and hit the fucking button. He was doing a service to these people. And they're going to sit here and say that what he was doing was wrong. People should have the right to choose how they go out, when they want to go out. And if there are people willing to help them with that because they don't have a method to do that, then so be it. Shit. That's a little darker turn of the topic.
No.
personal freedom.
I don't necessarily, disagree with the point. I just, as a person who has struggled with depression and anxiety a lot through life and had, many times of having to face, the reality of trying to see my own body on the floor because I'm thinking about doing something stupid. which, you know, thank God I haven't over the years. But again, my childhood is such that I cleaned up after my mother tried to kill herself, right? So I have a different perspective on that because I think for me, what's made such a difference is that I had to figure out that life has such intrinsic value, it's beyond my right to take it. And but I hear what you're saying. Not everybody agrees with that, right?
Yeah, you know
it's
what?
like I look at that as a son who looked at his is looking at his mother, and again a brother who 40 years later still can't forgive his mother and is dealing with that because she felt she had that right, right? And that's we've had those conversations as a family, and they go really really deep. But I hear what you're saying.
I think that leads into sharing with you a music video that I made about an ex that I had that would cut herself, threaten suicide. Like I honestly,
Right.
I lived with depression to the point where I was, you know, at the ledge, let's say.
Right,
You know,
right, right.
I was about to jump, you know, and I had to make the decision. And I saw this quote that actually really helped me out at the time. And it was, people that are suicidal don't want to end their life. They just want life the way it is to end.
Right.
Right. And
Yes.
so I made the decision. I had the kids and I'm like, I am not going to do this. And I made the solid decision right then and there that this isn't happening. So I just kept moving forward. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna make my life the way that I want it now, right? I'm gonna create myself. So you know, then I've dealt with a lot of different people who shared the same demons as me. And this is a music video I made out of it. So I'm gonna share that right now. Can you see?
Yep.
I swear I'm lost in the candlelight, looking at your eyes like tonight could be the last night of your life. Talking suicide, the way the razor paints across your skin brings a fire to the surface from within. The anger bleeds with each drop, the sweat and tears mixed with blood dripping out your flesh. Now you just a host. These demons took your flesh, spelling out your death. I tried to recover what's left, but there's nothing left.
And all this hocus pocus is supposed to be scientific.
Yeah. These demons took your flesh, spelling out your death. I tried to recover what's left, but there's nothing
And all
left.
this hocus pocus is supposed to
There's
be
nothing
scientific.
left. Yeah.
Supposed to be scientific.
Quite the video, quite the song.
Yeah, that was
there's some deep things in there, and obviously, I mean, not for anything. Hey, really good production value. I don't mean,
You know
not
what,
to go down that path too far, but good production
Yeah.
value. You know, good quality on the production. Lyrics are tight. Now, is that you performing?
Yeah, it's me rapping, and I made the beat.
Okay, nice.
I made the
very
beat
nice.
with a friend. My friend played the guitar on it, and we put the beat together, and then I wrote the song and I rapped it right there. And basically, all my songs I write from experiences that I went through and feelings that I felt, and all that shit. Like, I was literally trying to indicate to her all the psychological traumas that were at the root of all these issues, and it was just like these, uh like I said, there was she allowed these demons to just come and
Sure.
rip her apart. And
That's it. I mean, and that's not for anything, because I very much believe that demons are real, right? So I'm not going to give up life to a demon. Like, and I don't want to see life lost to a demon. And I believe that demons are real and we've got to deal with them. And but yeah,
assisted suicide isn't for people
no.
that are
I was
going
just
through
gonna say,
depression.
I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah,
we're
really talking
for what I was saying, like with Kevorkian and all those types. What I believe is people that are in pain, and they're like, let's say they have some sort of condition where they're just in immense physical pain
Right.
all the time. They deserve the right to be able to have someone help them set up a button or something which can give them a lethal overdose.
I track with you. My biggest issue with a lot of those kind of things is that the law is always a slippery slope, right? And mankind proves time and again that as soon as you make a law, one thing, as soon as you make 70 miles an hour is the speed limit, somebody's going to go 75. It's not good enough until we raise it to 75 so we can go 85. And no matter what the law is, we always want to go a step further. And we live in a time right now where one of the a couple of years ago, a professor over at Princeton University was talking about the viability of a citizen, and I believe he was kind of saying, that it's reasonable to consider that we should be able to abort children up to the age of 3 years old because they're not viable citizens, right? So, like, you can start to talk about these laws that we allow, and somebody will always take a little bit further. So while I completely I hear you. Somebody is in pain from stage 4 cancer, and there's a way to make them feel better. And I think we largely do it. It's called morphine, that kind of thing, right? But I mean, I hear you. The problem absolutely is that once we say it's for that, then it's going to be for somebody who stubbed their toe that day, had a bad day, and the demons attack.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to have regulations on it, obviously, but we don't want to live with a society with regulations. I think that humans as adults should be free to make those choices. Unfortunately, right now in our society, I don't think anyone's really free enough to make those choices, being that they're manipulating our emotions, right? The emotional contagion Facebook study they did, they're sitting here making us feel emotions. So how do I know that the depression that I'm feeling or that you're feeling isn't something that's actually implanted into us by the music or the social media?
It very much has, right? I mean, we only have, I want to say that we only have something like 7 emotions or 5 emotions or something like that. There's like the chemical responses that we call emotions and what they do. But they get tied to a mental thought. And because they get tied to a mental thought, we give it like a larger spectrum. And I'm really poorly explaining this part of it.
Framework.
But absolutely. What you're saying is 100% correct. Like, we may, you perceive something through a song like that, and it may either give us hope to kind of walk away from it, or maybe go down deeper alley because somebody else did it, so I can't hide, kind of thing. And this is where we have to be a lot more cautious in using the term from earlier. Like, we're not looking to get back into any sort of programming. We're looking to be free from what's been put inside of us, and because a lot of those thoughts of depression and anxiety have over the years then been associated with thoughts that have nothing to do with what originally caused those deep hurts within us to kind of be placed there. But not easy, not
Yeah.
easy, you know, but definitely worth it's really worth trying to get free.
See, I've tried to help a lot of different people that have come to me with different suicidal thoughts. And basically, what I do is I open up about some of my really deep, dark shit that's happened to me. And then they feel comfortable to start opening up about theirs. And there's a lot of people that are like, I've never told anyone this before, but, you know, I'm going to tell you. And I feel that that right there is the key, that
That's it.
the mental health subject has been so locked and so sealed, and people are afraid to talk about what they're feeling and thinking. And I mean, one of my friends posted on Facebook that she went to a county therapist and had DCFS called on her because of some stuff she was talking about.
Right. Yeah, no, all of that's kind of not is messed up too, because ultimately, the term mental health, it's who gets to define that? I mean, let's look at what mental health and mental well-being was in the 70s and what it is today. And, you know, right now, just having the conversation that says something like, well, I don't think I should have to take a vaccine, that's starting to be considered like you're not well mentally. Right, that you're not stable. And it's like, well, who gave you the rights to determine what was stable? And it's like, well, observation. It's like, no, that changes. That's humanism. Like, let's just be real what that is. That's a religion. That's a, you know, when we start to do that, it's a religion of control. It is humanism. And let's acknowledge what that is. When you start to define groups of people and assign them into something. And I get it all the time, you know, even my own mother, she's like, you know, your brain goes all over the place. And I'm like, to you, it does. To me, it all makes sense. Right. And that's kind of the thing, like the people who take the time to get to know you well enough start to realize you're not as sick as the world wants to label you as. You're actually quite well, and you're just seeking human relationship in a situation where, yeah, I can be vulnerable with you and trust that that's okay, that you can't hurt me. And one of the reasons I know that I can be vulnerable with you is because, thank you, I appreciate all of you, but you can't hurt me anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's something to that.
That's why I think a tribe is important, because we can be vulnerable around a lot of different types of people. And you know, we would be able to be close enough to them where we wouldn't be considered any type of way. You know, I've opened up to people about some different things, and they've used those things against me and threatened me with you know, DCFS or different things like that, simply because I opened up about suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like, let's be honest and let's get some healing. Now let me come back and slice your head off with it. Like, no, it doesn't quite work that way.
So people are afraid to open up because a lot of issues that people are having would lead to circumstances where maybe their job would be affected, maybe their family would be affected. So instead they hold it in. And when you hold in these issues that are mental health issues, and when they're trying to come up, guess what's going to happen? You're going to take them out internally. A lot of the time it leads to depression and suicidal thoughts. You know, they say that men commit suicide. I forget how much more than women, but it's a certain percentage more.
It's significantly more. I want to say it's
significantly more.
Yeah.
The reason for this is, and I've been noticing, I've talked to thousands of people myself about mental health. Women are way more able to open up and express themselves about it. There's many of my female friends, when they feel suicidal, they're going to tell you straight up, I feel like killing myself. I feel like, you know, they're going to say it and they're going to actually emote it. And that right there is why they're able to get the help that they need. So a lot more women are actually expressing it. Whereas the male friends that I've had that have committed suicide, you didn't know that it was even on their mind until their funeral.
Yeah.
And that's where
part of our healing has to be where we start speaking, you know, more properly. I think you just gave a great example of, you know, somebody saying like, I feel like I want to kill myself. And in reality, as you said earlier, I feel like what I want to do is escape from this life right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
exactly.
and if we could start really more properly speaking, what, you know, it's like we use the wrong words associated with a feeling, and we're actually causing more damage within ourselves, right? It's like we need to be a little bit more cautious. Look, we all do it. We're humans. Humans seem to be like really drama kings and queens. We sort of really like to just express things the way we want it expressed in our manner. And even if I put something 100% logically, if I don't put some sort of twist of emotion and drama to it, it's not received. So, okay, I get that. But yeah, somehow we have to start really going like, look, right now, I just want to escape this life. And if we can start really working on those kind of dialogues, that's when we get to say things like, well, one of the things about life is you can't escape it, but some of the greatest joys are found through those trials if we go through them together, right?
Exactly. And you can't have that dialogue unless the subject, the taboo for the subject has been broken wide open. People need to be able to open up about it. And that's sort of why I made that video. And I have another one where I'm actually acting in it. I haven't come out with it yet. I filmed it a couple of years ago, but it's me playing a husband in a codependent relationship where the couple has had previous addiction problems. It's like a short film. It's like 6 minutes or so. And they had previous addiction problems. So they're going on a family trip and the husband catches her having text message cheating with someone who was in their rehab, right? And he ends up catching her and getting pissed off. And when he comes back, she's overdosed. That's how the video ends. And I'm like, oh shit, So all these stories that I'm telling are basically, that wasn't real life. That was very close and could have been real life at certain times, in my life. So these stories are meant for people to show their friends, like, look, this is what I'm going through right here. This guy made this video and I'm feeling that. Yep. And they could be able to use the music to speak without words. There's plenty of times when I didn't have the words to say it, and I told someone hey, listen to this song. Well, we need to be able to have that type of language without having to revert to showing music, because then it's always going to not be from our perspective. It's going to be from the musician.
There's something about music, though, that is sort of universal. Universal is probably the wrong word, but music does transcend language, in part because it is poetic, it is dramatic, it has sound. There's just the music does transcend, and it is a means of bringing together. But I think it's not that we have to, get rid of the music side of it, and more so that we have to help one another creatively express ourselves. Like, how can, like, okay, we've got a few minutes left, and I'm going to go back to a question for last week. And Adriana, Andy, do we have a name yet? Like,
almost.
Do we have a name?
I've like come up with like my pirate name, I think, but I keep on like trying to say it and see if it like fits. So I don't even know if I want to say it right now.
Wait, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. You said that you're not ready to say it.
Yeah, I'm just like, I just want it to be like a legitimate thing. Like, I don't want to just say it. Like, I'm like testing it out. So anyway.
What is it?
Text it to me.
Really?
I haven't even heard it. Let's hear it.
I know. Okay. Well, it's nothing like crazy or anything, but so my favorite color is blue, and I absolutely love the ocean. Also, these are like just things like, so I don't know. I was just thinking blue sea.
I'm sorry, blue what?
Blue sea. Blue sea.
Oh, blue sea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like blue sea. But yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking about it. I don't know.
Very nice.
That reminds me of that guy I was playing Evo with, Pussy.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
See, that's to ruin it.
And how would you spell that?
I was thinking BLUSEA. I don't know if you can hear me. That is my microphone kind of bad.
I'm actually just for the Zoom call, I'm actually using a little different setup right now, just kind of because I'm playing with the studio. It's more on my side, I'm sure, than on yours. But yeah. So Blue Sea.
Okay.
So one word, Blue Sea, kind of, and
Pirate Blue Sea. Yeah.
Pirate Blue Sea.
Yes.
I'm a quartermaster.
Yeah.
The
quartermaster.
So I was like,
Blue Sea.
quartermaster.
And do you feel that that name expresses who you truly are?
I'm not sure like what that even means. Names have always been this weird thing for me because like just my broken family stuff and all my story. Like I've had different last names and then I have two names and I don't know. I just never really hold any solidity. And then just finding like an actual nickname that suits me, I've just always struggled with it because I just don't really attach so much with names very much. But I mean, I love all the colors in the world, but I just remember as a child, blue was always a very prominent thing for no reason at all, that I just liked blue. And then the ocean's always, I always go there actually to meditate and refresh myself. And I've had communication with the ocean. I know it sounds kind of weird, but I've had it like speak to me. Just like the two worlds colliding, even with the sand and the ocean, just like very intense thing for me. So I connect with it in that way, I guess. I'm connecting with it. I'm still deciding, but I
And
think
just know that this is just one of many characters that you play in life. So
right.
and I say that because I probably have about 20 different characters that I play. You know, I'm writing most of them, obviously, but yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I, you know, for what you're doing here, particularly, which is, you know, you're working on a project, you're pulling together a community. You can always just be you. You can always decide. You know, I remember going through high school. We had one girl who was all through grade school, and she was Buffy or Muffy, whatever. And then her last year, she's like, I want to be called this. Like, okay, so we all had to call that. Now it was a change, but okay, she just decided like I'm into a new era. And I think that people sort of do that a lot more than we may know, right?
Yeah, I agree.
You know, you got Peter or whatever. I was going to playing golf when I went back home, and I was like, Peter. Like, okay, over 30 years, you just kind of take on some new forms.
Right.
Are you enjoying the search?
Yeah, I'm trying not to stress too much about it or anything. I just want it to come to me. So just kind of
Good.
like thinking of things that do have meaning to me, and I kind of like the way it sounds. It's a little different. Like, yeah.
And of course, at times like this, I always have to refer people back to Blue October because you brought them up. If you've not listened to Blue October, I'm pretty certain you can find some really awesome things inside of there.
Yeah.
Well, Pirates, it's about that time again, and we always thank you for inviting us onto your call on this time, and we always do enjoy talking with you guys. We did not talk about our alpha user test, but we did get into testing this week, so maybe next week we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah,
right now it looks
good.
like we've got some, you know, we've got some UI, yeah, some user interface type things that we want to work on from a design, but the actual code, the important pieces, the operation looks pretty good right now. So yeah, next week we'll talk a little bit more about maybe what it looks like for the alpha users, but just want to say thank you guys as always. We do appreciate you allowing us to join you.
Yeah, awesome, man. We love being here. And next week also
Yeah.
we should talk about, I wanted to talk to you about DAOs, because there's a DAO that I've been connecting with called YGG, Yield Guild Games. I'm not sure if I told you about them. They have a $377 million market cap token, and what they do is they purchase NFT assets from all these games like Axie, and then loan them out to poor players, and then they make 10% of the cut through this scholarship program. And they have millions of dollars of these NFT assets, but they operate completely decentralized as a DAO, and then they have sub DAOs within the DAO. So the Axie group will have its own DAO, and then the Splinterlands group. So yeah, I'm learning about them. I want to talk to you about them next week too.
Yeah, definitely. So DAOs, yeah, we'll definitely make it a DAO conversation. They're very, very interesting, and how they're all going to work long term is going to be, because without having any sort of absolute leadership or accountability, you don't see something really succeeding long term. But it's supposed to be about individual accountability and what you bring to the team, and that you're doing it because, again, you want to cooperate, but no easy thing. And there've definitely been a few stories about like the DAOs that have just blown up and but yeah, I think we're there. We're going to see some really cool things. And I definitely want to learn about the one that you're talking about. So one of the things that we're getting, when you first come on our system, the whole thing is that you're staking your claim, right? You're getting your identity. It's going to be on the BSV one first, but then that basically becomes your own NFT. You literally could sell your own identity, and that's where we're putting up like these fake or fictitious characters that are part of our story. We'll be selling those. But one of the things that we discussed on our earlier episodes is we're going to start a series, and it's just a silly social series we're jumping off and playing with the whole NFL, but it's the Niffle League, and it's going to be this idea of making a mess and just getting people together to make a mess in some fun way and do this kind of game. But the whole gist of it is to see if we can pull together a group of people, a league, create these kind of teams and these team captains, give them an objective, go make a mess. Let's have some fun with it. Let's kind of give a vote up to it and see if we can actually turn a project of fun, a decentralized fun project, into something profitable. So, we'll take some of our coins, we'll give it to that kind of league and say, okay, you've got 12 weeks, go have fun with this and see where you can go with that. And I think a lot of this is going to be almost like project-based DAOs, DAOs, to really learn how can we interact with things that are going to be long-term, because we're looking for, results over the next, 5 and 10 years and 20 years, not just some NFTs that are up for sale right now, which are cool. They're fun. I get it. I'm not against these NFTs that are being sold for $1 million, that are nothing more than a picture of toilet paper, whatever. I get it. It's all part of the game. But in the end, I think the game is, how do we work together? How do we work together and create an environment of healing and profit, right? Like well-being and profit. Well, good for our soul and profit. But yeah, great conversations. And we're hoping to kind of start that off with just doing some games. Like I said before, so we're going to do these easy games. So cool stuff. But all right, well, we do have to jump off, and we will be touching base with you again next week.
Yep. You have a good night, Chuck and Tim.
Thanks, guys. Enjoyed the conversation.
Good night, you guys.
Night.
Bye, guys.
Hi, Tim.
Nice talking to you.